Are the Houston Texans putting Blake Fisher on the back burner? If so, what does that mean for Fisher's future and the offensive line depth with another day and another practice of, oh, that's how you feel, D'Amico and coaching staff?
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Battle Red Nation, from H-Town to your town. Today's episode and every episode is for Texans fans all around. Thank you to our everydayers coming back from the Himalayas. I see you making this show your first listen of the day. For the newcomers, I am your Texans credentialed media member and football analyst, John Hickman. Today's episode, what am I talking about? Well, it's undeniable. This is a conversation that needs to be had. JMA, John Metchie versus Berrios. What does that competition look like? And should the Houston Texans consider keeping both of those players who I think have had a very good camp? Where is this team's upside? And that's important to look at. Question marks still surround this offense, maybe a little bit on the defensive side of the ball. What's an area of this team on this roster that we really know all else fails, they're going to hold it down? Is Blake Fisher's time coming to an end with the Houston Texans is where I'm going to kick off today's show. But today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit FanDuel, the app, today and start planning your future bets now. Texas fans, I'm extremely happy to talk with you guys today. Tuesday training camp had a lot to be happy about. Christian Harris, Damian Pierce, and Nick Chubb all out there practicing. Chubb no longer in the non-contact jersey, so no more dealing with concussion protocol. For the Luke, let's say, truthers like myself, he had a good number of snaps with the ones and twos per Sam Warren of the Houston Chronicle following the loss of Brevin Jordan, who will be out for the year. Extremely unfortunate. Speedy recovery to Brevin Jordan. He was a player that a lot of us was looking forward to seeing this year. A lot more to take away, but in my opinion, the biggest takeaway has to be what is going on with Blake Fisher right now. At the time of this recording, between 48 hours ago, the Texans signed former Patriot and Ram Conor McDermott. Career journeyman, only a few starts in his career, but again, Patriots, Rams, has that background. During camp's practice on Tuesday, Blake Fisher did not start second team drills with the Houston Texans. Now, Conor McDermott did, for what it's worth. Fisher did go in for Titus Howard for first team reps, where he got his reps in. Isn't the issue. Like, where he got those reps isn't the issue. It's when he gets those reps that is the issue. We go back to Saturday's practice, right? And I had an opportunity to speak with my colleague, Cole Thompson, who texted me, said, thank God they drafted Ursary. If Trent Brown were healthy, Fisher would not be a top 10 offensive lineman for Houston. What do we know? We know that Fisher has had pre-snap penalty issues this camp. We know that he's been yanked out of team drills because of it, amongst other things. We know that he did not have the best of preseason games, though I believe he had good moments to build on, but he did post a run blocking grade of 29.3 and a pass block grade of 32.8. Do with that as you will. So for Houston to give some early burn to a newcomer speaks to where the coaching staff is currently in terms of trust and what they are looking for from their offensive line group. And something that I think D'Amico has mentioned a lot because he's recognized how much of an issue it was last year. Technique matters. Cam Robinson isn't out there. He's dealing with his own personal, injury problems. No Titus Howard, right? So when you look at where this team needs to see improvement and reps from the most, yes, absolutely, at the other tackle spot. Ursary has it locked down. But let's look at a few things. What if Ursary, God forbid, knock on wood, what if he goes down? Who's your next man up? your next man up needs to be ready. Do we feel like at this point, from what we've seen at camp in the preseason game and how they have been handling Blake Fisher? Again, he was yanked out of some drills, right? And I'm of the mindset, even if you are out there with first team, hey, for second team, you need to go back out there. You need these reps. So how they've been handling Fisher to this point, what's been going on with pre-snap penalties, and just how he's been talked about in the media here in Houston. Is it positive? No, it is not. No, it is not. And I'm also going to say this, guys. Just understanding what we've seen before, like when I see Houston bring in another player who has experience in an offense that is asking for specific things, like Houston bringing in Jake Andrews when Jared Patterson was there, also Juice Scruggs, it just indicates that this ain't the year for guys who can't be trusted. And Blake Fisher right now is not a player they can trust. And I'm going to take it there by saying this. Maybe some people may like this. Maybe some people may not like this. And I understand if you don't, but this is just keeping it real. Houston isn't letting another Kenyon Green situation happen on their hands. Not saying they're going to trade him or cut him or whatever, but if you can't play, they're not waiting around for you to disappoint them now and in the future. It's a different ball game for the Texans right now. And for what it's worth, Fisher was advised to stay in college another year to hone his abilities, but declined, leading to him entering the draft. Maybe he needed another year. That was a criticism or a draft knock when he came out. A lot of people felt like raw talent, the talent is there, needed another year to kind of hone his craft and be better because of the inconsistencies in his game. Hopefully, what kept Titus Howard out of practice for an extended period of time isn't serious, so he can be back on the field soon. As much as we hyped up Ursery and Andrews and the job that we saw that first unit do this past Saturday, those guys still need cohesiveness across that offensive line. They still need to play with one another. One good moment ain't going to get you ready for 17, 18 weeks, plus the playoffs, which we presume the Houston Texans will make at the very least by winning their division. So we hope that whatever kept Howard out isn't serious, but all signs are pointing to Titus Howard and Tate being the tackles for the Houston Texans. And again, I talked about this on Tuesday's show, man. If it's just the best five, if that's the best five, then that means they are enthused and excited and are okay with, with the production that maybe Ed Ingram is giving them. They like Thomason. He's been penciled in as a starter for the past few weeks since camp started. I think they need to seriously consider Juice Scruggs. I thought he had some very good moments to build on, and possibly his upside is better than what an Ed Ingram upside may be. So right guard, I think, in my opinion, is still up for grabs, also for the left guard spot. But Blake Fisher is not trustworthy for this coaching staff right now. Because if he was, I don't think that they'll go out, sign McDermott. And this is why I think it is for Blake Fisher and no one else. We didn't hear about, and I wasn't out there, so I'm going to be fair. We didn't hear about too much of what's going on with Zach Thomas, who did not have a good performance Saturday. All signs point to Blake Fisher. Is the talent still there for Blake Fisher? Absolutely. But 2022, the expectation for that team was they're going to build to get to where they are right now. And in a lot of cases, that hurt them with Kenyon Green. The first year, the second year, he was out. The third year, became unplayable once again. Houston just can't afford it, and they know they can't afford it. So if you're not the guy, you're just not the guy. Hopefully that they can keep a roster spot for him because, once again, per my conversation with my boy and colleague Cole Thompson, if Trent Brown was healthy, and I'm presuming he means like out there practicing as well, we can get a seat, get a view on him, Blake Fisher would not be the top 9. Blake Fisher should not make this roster. He also said McDermott performed better than Blake Fisher on Tuesday's practice. So that's the real. Up next, Texans get both Damian Pierce and Christian Harris back practicing, getting first-team reps. Where is this team's upside right now? More Locked On Texans talk on the way. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for the bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. Crown your champion in August. Let's just say Saturday, the 10-play, 74-yard drive was an indication of what this offense will be, how concise it'll move, the tempo it'll move with, the precision, right? Let's just say that is what we're going to see for 18 weeks, 17 games, along with what we already know the defense is going to bring. Is it a long shot to say the Houston Texans can make it to the Super Bowl in 2025, 2026? If you feel like it's not a long shot, visit FanDuel, the app today, and start planning your future bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Welcome back, listeners and viewers. If you're checking out the Locked On Texans podcast through your headphones at work, in the car, audio, or viewing, no matter where you are, understand this. I appreciate you guys for making this show your first listen of the day. Per Aaron Wilson, got some good news, y'all. Nick Chubb was a full go again after a head injury recovery, concussion, split reps and snaps with the ones with Damian Pierce, who was a full go for the first time after a strained quad injury kept him out. He also mentioned that Pierce looked in great shape. Aaron Wilson went on to say Kalen Bullock, sophomore safety. MJ Stewart took first team safety snaps, with newcomer Jalen Mills working in as well. Couple of touchdown catches for John Metchie III. Can't wait to talk about that in one-on-one drills against all-pro cornerback Derek Stingley in red zone drills. You guys would definitely want to go see that. It's all over social media. It's on my page as well. John Metchie continues to shine, and I can't wait to dive more into my thoughts on John Metchie and Braxton Berrios. But I want you guys to hear from Henry T on how it felt having Christian Harris back on the field and what he's seen from the defense overall throughout training camp.
No, we've been growing every single day. I think every day we have a great offense to go against. And I think it's just that West Virginia trip that we had a good opportunity for us to bond and grow closer and just work on our game together as a whole. So, we're growing. And it feels good because we're grooving and when we make plays, that's when we get to talk in and our confidence gets built. So we're super excited and I like where we're going. It was big, man. I love having C out there, and you could just see the difference that he makes, the big plays, that the speed, the athleticism that he brings to our team. It's good having C back out there. I've seen the biggest smile that I ever seen ever since he came back. So having him out there has been a blessing. It's been huge for our team, and he's only going to help us.
Talk about bonding. Now what y'all know about them Bama boys? Henry T, Christian Harris. Listen, man, when I look at the upside of this team, right, whether it's the offensive side of the ball, whether it's the defensive side of the ball, peep this. Jamal Hill, who, by the way, had an interception, I think, returned for a touchdown during training camp, Tuesday's practice. And then what he did in Saturday's game, right? He was good. EJ Speed, right? He was good. EJ Speed was great. He was all over the field. So without even getting to the linebacker depth, let me just say that those two guys immediately give you special teams numbers, give you special teams depth. Okay. Talked about Jalen Smith, the rookie out of USC, and how impressive he was in his first game this past Saturday. Quiet as kept. Arthur Millette has been performing well. Don't know if Houston to keep him, but you can at least see some value from Millette on special teams. And this is a running joke that we've had for 2 years now. Like, if he ain't working out for the position group, throw him on special teams. But then you also got Dario Ngubale. We know how much of a special teamer he is and how much that matters for this team. So That's okay. Then I'm looking at the wide receiver group. They're trying these guys out, right? Can you return? Can you also catch? When I look at where this team's upside is, and I'm also going to mention this, quiet is kept. Quiet, and I mean quiet is kept, but maybe it should be a little bit more louder for you Mills Mafias. Mills Mafia. Mate, is Davis Mills a top 5 backup quarterback in the NFL? So, bringing it back, where do I feel like this team's depth is? Okay, Christian Harris is already running with the ones. Don't know if that's a part of the process to get him back up to speed or if they just know that he's the X factor that needs to be out there on the field. But you got Christian Harris, you got Aziz. Okay, now to back him up, you got Henry T. You got EJ Speed. And I'm going to throw Jamal Hill in that mix because he's been performing well. Okay, the DB room. You got Miles Bryant. You got Millette, who, don't know if he's going to make the team or not, but I'm being fair in saying that he's had some good moments. You got the rookie, Jalen Smith. Okay, the D-line room, deep. Wide receiver room. I mean, the only guy that really hasn't impressed me for real has been Justin Watson. Most of these other guys, especially the names that and I've seen make NFL catches, these guys have been performing well, man. I just mentioned Davis Mills. When I get to the offensive line, that's a little bit different. Hopefully, you don't have to put those backups out there. But this team's upside is absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, their depth. Their depth on this team, I think, like running back, Nick Chubb, Damian Pierce is back. Joe Mixon is still slated to be ready for week 1, according to Aaron Wilson. That's not even mentioning the 2 younger running backs. I don't think both of those guys are going to make the roster. And more than likely, we'll see Woody Marks make the roster. But again, things could change depending on performance. They did a great job blocking, but now we got to see them run the ball. Running backs get paid to run the ball. Blocking and everything else is just great for your incentives and how teams view you. But if you don't run the ball real well, you ain't really getting paid. And getting paid in this league is getting them carries. Getting paid in football is getting them carries along with getting your paper. This team's depth, I think, at the very least, puts them in that top of the tier 2 range, where when you look at the tier 1 teams in the NFL, and majority of those teams are in the AFC, Baltimore, Kansas City, Buffalo. I'm going to throw, I don't want to say Jamar Chase. I'm going to throw Cincinnati in that mix as well. Houston is right up there with those guys. And Houston has beat Cincinnati. Houston has beat Buffalo. But they are in that tier 2, creeping up on that tier 1 because of how this team is built from top to bottom. You got to be proud of that. That has to get you hyped and get you up. And I'm going to say this, man, from a 53-man roster, you can only keep, 49 active on game day. From 35 to 49, man, like Houston is going to have some difficult decisions to make in terms of who they're going to keep and who they're going to let go, who they're going to regulate to the special teams, not special teams, but to the practice squad. Because, I didn't even mention the tight end bunch. Luke Lachey getting those snaps with the ones. He has had a quiet, impressive camp for a player that's a 7th-round pick. Seems like he knows football. High IQ player. It's incredibly, it's a blessing for Houston to have that depth. And to be completely honest with you, bringing in a Conor McDermott, you look at the trust there. Okay, I know this guy. I've coached him. I know what he can do. I've seen him in LA. I've seen him in New England, right? I trust him there compared to what the turmoil and the ups and downs in last year. Was there trust for your offensive coordinator to find ways to get your receivers the ball, get those playmakers the ball, get them going? I don't think it was. If it wasn't Nico, when Stephon and Tank were down, that was a problem. You got a lot of these guys doing the same thing, but their skill set isn't the same. The involvement of the tight end room. Now, across the offensive line, there is some depth. It's not a lot. It ain't like other positions. But there are some guys that maybe you can trust. And again, don't know what the future for Houston and Cam Robinson is going to look like. But that's an expensive insurance policy that if all else fails, you can break that glass if he doesn't start week one. Don't know the direction of where he is right now. So we'll just have to wait and find out. That is the depth for Houston is absolutely a superpower. And I'm going to say this: we got to give a lot of credit to the coaching staff. Like we talk about players taking it personal all the time. The coaching staff took it personal this year to get these guys ready. Jake Morton talked about his tight end room and talked about how all of those guys can just step in and be playmakers. And it ain't all about catching the ball, right? But just hearing Jake Morton talk about his guys, hearing Raw Wright talk about his guys, everybody on this team, for the most part, has been coached up well, and they can trust them out there. That is where this team's upside is, and I'm extremely excited to see how they kind of round out this roster. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. What's really going to be tough is how Houston is going to handle the wide receiver room. Are they keeping 5, 6, 7? And if they're keeping 6 or 7, where does JMA and Braxton Berrios lie on that pecking order? There's no denying JMA has had a good camp. There's no denying the vet, B. Berrios, has also had a good camp. I'm excited to talk about that on the other side of the Locked On Texans podcast. Also, guys, listen, if y'all ain't got in by now, I don't know what you're waiting on. The Locked On Texans Swarm Fantasy League. We got a couple of more slots left for the league that if you are not able to be there in person, we got it virtual for you, baby. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. No better way to host a fantasy league than with Yahoo. It's the best time of the year. NFL kickoff is almost here, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. Never seen this. Yahoo, the innovators of fantasy football. This year, like I told you guys, we'll be hosting a league on Yahoo Fantasy. And you should too, whether this is your first time or you're a veteran making your millionth league. To celebrate fantasy football greatness and 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. To kick it off, they just dropped the Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's one team left standing. With the season around the corner, now's the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. If you're into more of the classics, no worries, you can try. Just ignore the Guillotine League if you can. It's very tempting. But you can still play in head-to-head private leagues or join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. Thank you for making Locked On Texans your first listen today. NFL Fantasy Draft season is here. For your second listen, go find Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast with hosts Vinny Iyer and Kate Magic. Listen every day to prep for your fantasy draft and become the most informed manager so you can take home your league's trophy this season. Find Locked On Fantasy Football on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Closing out today's episode, we got to talk about it. It's inevitable. We got to have a conversation. JMA versus Berrios. The young versus the old. So there is no denying that the timeline of John Metchie this training camp started off shaky, started off rough. There were moments where I visibly saw John Metchie disengaged during special team drills. It was during the return drills. Kind of felt like maybe that role he didn't want to embrace. Had some drops, suffered from drops. You guys saw him. If you're on social media, they were everywhere, and people were killing John Metchie. But that's been a few weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago now. And John Metchie has done exactly what his head coach loves. That is stacking good days. There's no bigger advocate of stacking good days than D'Amico Ryans. So I want you guys to hear from Berrios on his early impression of offensive coordinator Nick Caley and how he uses his slot receivers, and on his initial impression of quarterback CJ Stroud and how his relationship with him has developed since arriving in Houston.
Yeah, I think it's been awesome. Obviously in the spring coming in, everything was new to everybody. So learning the playbook was the main focus there. And, I think we're very multiple all across the board. I think a lot of us can do a lot of different things. And, it's not necessarily outside routes or big guy routes or slot routes. I think we mix that up a good amount. And, I think we have the versatility in the wide receiver room to do that. Yeah, obviously coming in, he's a gunslinger. He can sling the rock. He's been a very, very successful QB, and obviously, it's early in his career. So very impressed with him from an outside perspective, and honestly on the inside, even more impressive now. Just how he handles himself, how he commands the offense. Obviously, his arm's his arm. He has a special talent, and he sees the field really well. So I've been extremely impressed, and he's been a very good leader for this offense.
That's Braxton Berrios speaking glowingly about his quarterback, CJ Stroud. He arrived here in free agency this offseason in the springtime. That battle is going to be interesting. I don't think that there's been a better receiver on the back end of this pecking order that has been better than both JMA and Berrios. And I'm going to give you guys something really quick. An NFL team can carry a maximum of 53 players on their active roster, while they can have a total of 53 players. Only 46, not 49, only 46 of those can dress for a game. The number of wide receivers a team carries can vary, but it's common to carry 5 or 6 receivers on an active roster. Some teams may opt to carry 7, especially if that 7th player offers unique special team contribution. And this is where, for Houston, it kind of plays into their favor a lot, if you ask me. Who do you prioritize of these two? You cannot deny Metchie and the growth that he's had over the past couple of weeks. And also looking at John Metchie, Houston traded up for him a few seasons ago out of Bama in the second round. Obviously, a world of talent. Obviously, didn't come into the NFL with the best situations. We're not going to talk about it. But in terms of upside and talent, it goes to Metchie. You also can't deny what Berrios has done since arriving and his connection with CJ Stroud. Special teams are a big emphasis for this team, guys. Like Frank Ross, I just found out was a former quarterback. So I don't know how long Houston going to be able to keep him unless he just wants to stay in Houston and maybe ride it out to see this team win a championship. But at some point, he may be out of here. He's a good coach. But he's going to want dogs. And like I mentioned, hey, both players caught passes. Berrios caught the touchdown. John Metchie got the targets and the catches. Did it on 3 levels, right? But both of those players was able to return Saturday. Punt return, kickoff return. Both performed well, right? It wasn't necessarily a big difference, though. You can kind of see it being more natural for Berrios compared to John Metchie. That's where the edge will go. So if I'm looking at special teams, the edge goes to Berrios. If I'm looking at where the upside lies and the talent, it goes to Metchie. For the Houston Texans with a new offensive coordinator, Nick Caley, the question is, which one of those guys, if not both, can I really use to keep the drive going? Who does something differently that in my offense, and what I'm asking of him, I can use to exploit defenses? And from what we've seen, granted, we haven't seen it done with CJ Stroud against another team. We get a joint practice in a couple days. But from what we've seen, guys, I think the Houston Texans will absolutely flirt with the idea, and they should, of keeping. We know Nico, Higgins, Kirk, Noel. That's 4. Okay. Metchie, Berrios, Hutchinson, however it lies. But I think to this point, both of those players have done enough to be justified to stay on this team for the 2025-2026 season. And that is the Locked On Texans podcast for the day. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Do me a favor. Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Also, for my audio listeners out there, I'm going to start calling y'all my audio lovers out there. My brothers from another mother's, my sister from another mister, from my audio family out there. Make sure that you tell a friend to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. I'll be out there just letting you guys know now. I'll be out there during practice days on Thursday. Extremely excited about that. Can't wait to bring what I saw through my 4 eyes to your ears and eyes, whether it's to audio or YouTube. Until next time, ladies and gents, Texan fans across the nation, peace.